Keanu Reeves has long felt less like a Hollywood creation and more like a quiet force moving through it. For more than 5 decades, he has carried himself with a calm that seems almost spiritual, an unshakable steadiness in an industry known for excess and ego. While headlines often frame his life as a chain of tragedies, that narrative only tells part of the story. What defines him is not merely the pain he endured, but the gentleness with which he endured it. Audiences have watched him become Neo in The Matrix and a relentless force in John Wick, celebrating him as a cinematic hero. Yet his truest heroism exists off-screen. It lies in his refusal to become hardened by loss, in his quiet generosity, and in his belief that kindness is not weakness, but strength refined by suffering. The abandonment that shaped his first years. Born on September 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, Keanu Charles Reeves entered the world with a name meaning cool breeze over the mountains. His father, Samuel Nolan Reeves Jr., was of Chinese-Hawaiian descent, and his mother, Patricia Taylor, was an English costume designer and performer. But stability did not define his early childhood. When Keanu was just 3 years old, his father left without explanation. There was no gradual fading, only absence. Years later, at 13, Keanu met him briefly, an encounter that felt more like meeting a stranger than reconnecting with a parent. After that, the contact vanished again. This early abandonment left more than a missing figure. It left unanswered questions about identity and belonging. Without a consistent father figure, Keanu learned independence early. He grew up understanding that love is not always permanent and that strength sometimes begins in solitude. A childhood of movement and instability. After her husband's departure, Patricia moved frequently in search of opportunity and stability. Keanu's childhood unfolded across continents: Sydney, New York, and eventually Toronto. Constant relocation meant friendships were temporary, and roots were shallow. His mother remarried several times, and each new stepfather entered like a promise before fading into memory. The lack of permanence created an emotional restlessness. Keanu was often cared for by grandparents and nannies, steady presences amid shifting foundations. School proved equally challenging. Dyslexia made reading difficult, and traditional classrooms felt confining. He was expelled from one arts-focused school after repeated clashes with authority. Yet amid this instability, he discovered discipline and focus on the ice rink. As a hockey goalie, he earned the nickname The Wall. Standing between the goal and chaos, he learned resilience, absorbing impact so others would not have to. It was an early lesson in quiet endurance. Theatre, the escape that became a calling. If hockey strengthened his body, theatre awakened his soul. Acting began as an escape, a way to inhabit lives untouched by his own uncertainties. On stage, he could transform pain into performance, confusion into clarity. What started as refuge gradually became purpose. At 17, Keanu left school and moved to Los Angeles, chasing the fragile possibility of a career in film. He arrived without guarantees, sleeping on couches, taking odd jobs, enduring countless auditions. Rejection was constant, but so was determination. Each small role felt like proof that survival was possible through art. His early appearance in the hockey film Youngblood seemed almost poetic, returning him briefly to the rink that shaped his youth. Acting offered more than income. It offered identity. Through characters, he discovered emotional range and discipline. The craft demanded vulnerability, and vulnerability became his strength rather than something to conceal. The first break, from comedy to action. In 1989, Keanu stepped into the role that would introduce him to mainstream audiences. Ted Theodore Logan in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The character's innocence and humor resonated unexpectedly with viewers. What might have been a fleeting comedy became a cultural phenomenon. Success opened doors to more demanding roles, including the adrenaline-driven surf thriller Point Break. Then came the explosive hit Speed, which cemented his status as an action star. Fame arrived quickly, bringing financial security and public attention. Yet success carried pressure. The physical toll of action sequences tested his endurance, and the weight of expectation loomed large. Stardom was not the summit he imagined. It was a new terrain to navigate carefully. The world saw triumph. He felt responsibility. Even then, humility anchored him. River Phoenix, a friendship that became a wound during the early 1990s, Keanu formed a profound friendship with actor River Phoenix. They connected through shared introspection and a mutual discomfort with Hollywood superficiality. Their collaboration on My Own Private Idaho deepened their bond. Keanu reportedly traveled great distances to persuade Phoenix to join the project, valuing artistry over commercial gain. But on October 31st, 1993, tragedy struck when Phoenix died from a drug overdose at the age of 23. The loss stunned the industry and devastated Keanu. Grief arrived suddenly and without preparation. For a man already familiar with absence, this death reopened old wounds. Friends described him as deeply affected, carrying sorrow quietly. The loss of Phoenix marked a turning point, an encounter with mortality that reshaped his understanding of time, friendship, and the fragility of youth. A decade of devotion. Caring for his sister. Amid professional success, Keanu faced another personal trial. His sister, Kim Reeves, was diagnosed with leukemia in the early 1990s. Rather than retreat into career obligations, he stepped forward as caregiver. For nearly a decade, he prioritized her treatment and comfort, adjusting his life around hospital visits and recovery periods. When The Matrix transformed him into a global icon, the financial rewards allowed him to contribute substantially to cancer research. Reports indicate he donated millions anonymously, refusing public recognition. His dedication to Kim reflected loyalty rooted in childhood closeness. She had been a steady presence in his life, and he returned that devotion fully. After years of treatment, Kim entered remission. For Keanu, this victory was deeply personal, a reminder that love sometimes defies odds. In caring for her, he discovered resilience strengthened by compassion rather than ambition. The child who never took a breath. In 1999, as professional success soared, Keanu and his partner Jennifer Syme prepared to welcome their daughter, Ava Archer Syme Reeves. They anticipated a future filled with ordinary joys. First smiles, first steps. But tragedy intervened when Ava was stillborn late in pregnancy. The nursery stood ready, yet silence filled it. The grief was immeasurable, a private devastation beyond language. Keanu and Jennifer struggled beneath the weight of shared loss. Though they attempted to support each other, sorrow altered their relationship irrevocably. They separated weeks later, united by grief yet unable to escape its presence. For Keanu, fatherhood became a possibility that vanished before it began. The experience deepened his awareness of life's unpredictability. Fame and wealth offered no protection from heartbreak. Loss became not an abstract concept, but an intimate reality, reshaping his emotional landscape permanently. Another farewell, the loss of Jennifer Syme. 18 months after Ava's death, tragedy struck again. On April 2, 2001, Jennifer Syme died in a car accident in Los Angeles. The suddenness of the event compounded existing grief. Keanu reportedly learned of the accident shortly after it occurred, facing once more the finality of loss. He served as a pallbearer at her funeral, where Jennifer was laid to rest beside their daughter. The repetition of sorrow felt relentless. In the span of a few years, he had lost a close friend, a child, and a former partner. Yet even in mourning, he remained private and composed. He did not exploit grief publicly. Instead, he returned quietly to work, allowing time and creativity to offer structure. These experiences etched empathy deeply into his character. Pain did not harden him. It broadened his capacity to understand others. Love later in life. A partnership of equals years passed before Keanu publicly embraced another relationship. His connection with visual artist Alexandra Grant developed gradually from friendship into partnership. Having collaborated on artistic projects, they built mutual respect before romance. When they appeared together publicly in 2019, the response was overwhelmingly supportive. Their bond seemed rooted not in spectacle, but in shared creativity and maturity. They attend events hand in hand without dramatics, embodying companionship rather than performance. For Keanu, love later in life carried deeper meaning. It reflected healing, not erasing past sorrow, but integrating it. Grant's artistic independence complements his reflective nature. Together, they represent balance. Two individuals choosing presence over publicity. Their relationship stands as quiet evidence that connection remains possible, even after profound loss. A life defined by giving beyond film, Keanu's reputation rests heavily on generosity. Stories circulate of him riding public transit, giving up seats, sharing meals with strangers, and supporting film crews with substantial bonuses. He co-founded Arch Motorcycle, channeling creative passion into engineering and design. Yet business ventures are secondary to his humility. Reports of anonymous donations and private philanthropy reinforce an image of understated kindness. With an estimated fortune in the hundreds of millions, he lives modestly compared to many peers. Wealth for him appears to be a tool rather than a trophy. Colleagues describe him as attentive and respectful, qualities rare in competitive industries. In a culture often captivated by extravagance, Keanu embodies restraint. His generosity feels less like strategy and more like instinct, a natural extension of empathy shaped by personal hardship. Conclusion: surviving and choosing gentleness. Keanu Reeves's life defies simple categorization. It is not solely a narrative of tragedy, nor merely one of success. Instead, it is a study in endurance shaped by compassion. He has experienced abandonment, bereavement, and profound heartbreak. Yet through each chapter, he has chosen gentleness over bitterness. His public persona reflects calm, but beneath it lies resilience forged in loss. Audiences admire his cinematic strength, but his true legacy may be quieter. The demonstration that survival need not extinguish kindness. In a world that often equates toughness with indifference, he offers another model: strength expressed through empathy. His story reminds us that grief can coexist with gratitude, and that living softly is an act of courage. By continuing to create, to give, and to love, Keanu Reeves embodies hope not as spectacle, but as steady presence.